Our still life photo of the day. New York police officers once again turning their backs on Mayor De Blasio as he spoke at the funeral of slain officer Wenjun Liu, repeating a pattern we have seen since the protest after the Eric Garner verdict. Now, this was despite Police Commissioner Bill Bratton asking officers not to protest during the funeral of Officer Liu yesterday. Well, today, at a press conference at One Police Plaza, both Mayor De Blasio and even more forcefully Commissioner Bratton responded.
They were disrespectful to the families involved. That's the bottom line. They were disrespectful to the families who had lost their loved one. And I can't understand why anyone would do such a thing in a context like that. I also think they were disrespectful to the people of this city, who in fact honor the work of the NYPD.
I just don't understand it. I'm sorry that I just do not understand that. What was the need in the middle of that ceremony to engage in a political action? The selfishness of that action. The selfishness of it. A funeral is not a place for that. Come demonstrate outside City Hall, come demonstrate outside police headquarters, but don't put on your uniform and go to a funeral and engage in a political action.
This, as an apparent citywide NYPD protest continues in the form of fewer arrests. Arrests down 56% last week in the city, 1 week after a 56% drop in the final full week of 2014, including more than 90% drops in low-level, quote-unquote, broken window arrests, traffic tickets, even parking tickets. We'll talk about the funeral in a little bit because I thought it was very moving. I should acknowledge here that it wasn't the majority of officers who did that. I'm not going to try and put a percentage on it, but it was definitely a small minority. But certainly, we're not talking half a dozen or a dozen. You saw pockets of this that were happening, and of all different colors, the officers that turned their backs. That said, when you saw it, what was your initial reaction? Because clearly, Sergeant Mullins, you had, I don't know what came out of the PBA with Pat Lynch, but I do know Bratton, they made it clear from supervisors on down, don't do this stuff during the funerals, and they still did it. And then we're still seeing the slowdown, if you want to call it that, with the arrests. Something's going on here.
I can't speak to the slowdown. I don't know what happens on the ground, and maybe there's less crime in certain areas. Maybe there are reasons for less summonses, although these numbers are shocking and they're startling, yes. But I think that the mayor and especially the police commissioner do themselves a disservice and do the city a disservice when they remark on this. Let it happen. Talk about it later, and don't have a press conference about it.
But it happened twice, and the perception is that the mayor, whether it's fair or not, Michael, that the mayor, whether in giving OT, that it's some form of a payoff, or whether it's whatever he's going to do, he's seeming weak here. And certainly Bratton has come off as a more forceful person, both in the comments that he's made at the funerals and everything else. The mayor has come off weak through this whole thing.
It's a sort of a day late and a dollar short, because this is a tone that was set before this tragedy. This is a tone that was set before the grand jury decision on the Garner case. This is a tone that was set when the police commissioner and the mayor sat down with Reverend Sharpton and elevated those voices, or his voice, to policy making, first among equals position in setting city policy. And there were problems before this happened. And while they were dealing with these problems, I expect, although I don't know, at City Hall, they were thinking, well, what's the worst that could happen? This will blow over soon and we'll get past it. And then these tragedies occurred. So it's not about the funeral. It's not about the assassination of these two police officers. It's not about what happened in Staten Island. It happened before this, and this is a continuation of it. So to think that they could get up and have a press conference and it'll go away and don't do this again. So what are they going to do? They're going to fire every single one of those police officers? They're going to put a note in their file?
No,
let it go.
But you can transfer them. You can.
No, you can't.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Of course you can. That elevates it, and it's going on forever.
The mayor should be saying to the mayor should not say anything else about this, because it looks like,
I agree with.
It looks like he's whining. The mayor needs to say to his police commissioner in private, either you get this under control or I will. No. You cannot have a mayor at a funeral and cops are being defiant to turn. No, you can't.
Yes, you can.
Okay.
We just did.
Okay, wait. I got a good way. Would this ever have happened to the Giuliani? What do you think would have happened to those cops?
It happened under Giuliani.
What do you mean it happened to Giuliani?
Mass demonstration.
No, that was against David Dinkins. They got Rudy elected. Okay, gentlemen, Richard, what do you think, Richard? If they turned their back on Rudy Giuliani, don't you think they would have been assigned the worst possible assignment the next day?
I was at Times Square at the No Zeros for Heroes rally. Hillary Clinton, as a U.S. Senator, spoke at a PBA rally held in Times Square where they were denouncing, who was it at the time? I guess it was Mayor Bloomberg, and they fought with Giuliani. This goes on of course you can have this. It goes on with everybody, but this is sort of the worst possible situation.
At a funeral,
but it's one that happened.
I don't remember this, you know, and
you don't remember Fear City, where they were picketing and telling people not to come to New York City? It's crime-ridden. I mean, this is not a defense or an attack. This happens all the time, and the notion that you retaliate against someone for speaking their mind on a political issue by transferring them.
You heard what the commissioner said, though. The commissioner said there's a time and a place. You want to make your voice heard, make your voice heard. Not at a funeral.
No one in the past 6 weeks in New York City has been able to figure out the correct tone of voice to disagree with the other side.
Okay, but hold on. There is a slowdown. You can't have
different issue.
Okay, but
there you transfer people.
But it all seems to validate so many of the concerns that the protesters and the people who are upset with the NYPD have in the first place, which is that the NYPD and the officers act on their own accord. They do whatever they want, regardless of what their administrators or whatever their bosses say, that they're disrespectful. If they're going to be disrespectful to the mayor and the police commissioner, they're going to be disrespectful to...
They'll say that this validates their concerns that City Hall doesn't have their best interests at heart.
That may be fair, but the NYPD, as well as the mayor and the police commissioner, have a public perception problem right now. This doesn't do anything to aid their cause in the long run, and I think, in fact, it hurts them. And if their real source of concern in all this is that somehow the mayor is making us less safe, I think their actions are potentially making them less safe as well by stirring the pot even more and by discounting everything that they claim to hold so importantly. And if the arrest slowdown is happening and the city seems to be standing and doing well, that validates all the concerns about broken windows.
I just tell you, there seemed to be, today was the first departure of it, but a major capitulation by the mayor, to the point where either, I know they have closed-door meetings with the police unions, but either he said, you know what, in the past maybe I didn't choose my words more carefully, okay? But we all made mistakes here. Going forward, X, Y, and Z. Either he's going to go there, or he's going to do what Dominic says. I'm sorry, if there's going to be slowdowns, you guys don't get to make up policy in the field. You guys don't get to make up and decide policy over Bratton as to how many squad cars are going to respond to which cases you're going to choose to make arrests on, and which ones you don't. You can't have rank and file doing that. I mean, that's not a way to run a city, right? So,
Richard, the mayor's hands doesn't have to, for the second, let's put that aside. The mayor's hands doesn't have to be on it. You want to make me look bad in public? You're transferred to Staten Island or the Bronx tomorrow. It happens every day in the police department. I don't know what they're talking about. You go and you publicly denounce the police commissioner, your rank and file. Guess what, buddy? You're transferred to the worst assignment the next day, or you're forced to retire, or you're fired. That is not factually incorrect.
I do think there'd be a story the next day.
But the mayor doesn't put his hands on it, Richard. He does this in a political way. He says to Bratton, get it done.
It's a violation of the contract. It's a violation of the law. It's a violation of
It's called
the
Politics 101.
It's not the way it happens.
It's called Politics 101.
When we come back here, we will put politics by the side for a second, because if you happen to see that funeral service yesterday, there were some really moving moments. Officer Liu, as we know, now laid to rest. And some of the voices we heard and some of the words spoken here, we're going to share with the table and you at home. Stay with us.